DreAllDay.com.
How to bring it when nobody else has it. Now, this concept is drawn from my background as a team sports athlete. And in team sports, sometimes there are days, there are games, there can be time periods during the season when nobody really has energy. Nobody really feels like practicing. Nobody really has brought the right energy or mindset to a particular game. But you, as the leader, you want your team to win. You want the team to be successful. And it's obvious that nobody else has the energy. And you can try hyping them up. You can try cussing them out. You can try calling timeout and hoping that people drink enough Gatorade to get excited about the situation. But sometimes there's only so much you can say, and none of that shit is working. So in a sport like basketball, for example, where anyone can perform any function, sometimes you have to pick up where your teammates have left off, and you have to bring the energy where your teammates simply don't have that energy. Now, in any team sport, this applies in any team sport when it comes to things like training and practice, and happens much more often than in, let's just say, than in individual sports, because in individual sports, it's just you by yourself. So there is nobody else. And sometimes you may train with other athletes, but you're basically by yourself in the games. But today, what we're going to talk about, this is not about sports. You don't have to have a sports background to understand this concept, because it's not about sports. It's just drawn from sports. We're going to talk about how you can mentally prepare yourself and physically prepare yourself to bring the energy and deliver even when no one else on your teams seems to have that energy, or it doesn't seem anybody else even feels like finding it. But you will, because wherever, any team that you're on, the team will go as you, the leader, goes. Point number one. Today's topic, once again, is how to bring it when no one else has it. And another thing I want to add, even before we get into this first point, is that even if you don't have the title of leader on a team, if you're the type of person who demonstrates that you can bring the energy even when no one else has it, you become a leader by default, even if you don't have a title of being a team captain, or you're not a senior, or you don't have the seniority, whatever it is. You don't have the stats. You become a leader simply because you're one who can bring the energy when nobody else feels like bringing the energy. First point is this: take ownership. Connecting to that addendum that I just gave you right there. Taking ownership. Taking ownership, again, means you can be the person who has this mentality, even if you don't have the title that says you're the person who's supposed to do it. You don't have to be a team captain to decide, I'm going to be the one who brings energy when nobody else has energy. You don't have to be an executive. You don't have to have been at the company for a certain number of years, or be at a certain position on the payroll. You can just decide that this is what I'm going to do. That's taking ownership. And remember, ownership, you see that the title is taking ownership, not hoping someone hands you ownership, not finding ownership. It's taking ownership. Remember that the package deal of power and leadership. Okay. The flip side of it is ownership and responsibility and accountability. If you're going to be a powerful person who's a leader, you also must have complete ownership of your situation, and you must take full responsibility and accountability for everything that happens within that situation. That means you'll have full ownership over everything that happens regarding anything in which you have power or over which you are looked at as a leader. This is especially important with something that happens that was not your doing and is not really your quote unquote fault, not your fault. You are a leader and an owner. When you are a leader or an owner, fault is not in your repertoire. You are not allowed to blame anyone when you are the person who's in charge. We just talked about this in episode 3310. Blame is not in your repertoire when you're the person on top. Blame/fault, whichever word you want to use. You can't use these words. You own everything. And if you are unwilling to take on this mentality, then you're not a leader. There are no exceptions. Just recently, from when I'm recording this, former NBA player Tracy McGrady. Some of you may remember Tracy. He was also known as T-Mac. Very good player. Multiple-time All-Star in the NBA Hall of Fame, which he deserves to be. Very skilled player, could score a lot of points. He was known for scoring a lot of points, being an athletic guy who could play above the rim during his prime years and dunk on you, cross you over. Just a guy who could just score a lot of points. Led the NBA in scoring a time or two. And Tracy McGrady was doing a panel at the NBA Finals, and the whole conversation was around winning championship rings, and if a certain player, even if they had great stats and a great profile, if their career is diminished because they failed to win a championship. Tracy McGrady's in the middle of this conversation because he is one such player. He's a player who had great statistics, but his career is not looked at as highly. His career is not looked upon as highly as others' careers are, simply because Tracy McGrady did not win a championship. And as a matter of fact, he never came even close to winning a championship, save for 1 year when he was riding a bench on the San Antonio Spurs. They failed to win the title that year, even though they made it to the final round. Tracy McGrady wasn't even playing. He was at the end of the bench and didn't even get into games at any of the finals, even though he technically would have had a championship had the team won that year. And one of the things that Tracy McGrady said, and he said a bunch of things, he was generally saying, let me see if I can find the nonsense that Tracy McGrady said, because it very well demonstrates what we've been talking about here, about what I'm talking about here in this first point, about you are not allowed to talk about fault or blame when you're the person who is on top. Let me see if I can find the actual statement of what he said. I'll find it on my profile, because I talked about this on X maybe a day or two before I'm recording this, but by the time you all hear this, it was a while ago. And he said, let me see if I can find the exact saying of what he said. It wasn't that. No, not that. No, not that. So, I just found one thing that I posted, but I'm looking for the one where I responded to what somebody else said, because it had the context of what Tracy McGrady actually said. No, I'm not seeing it, so let me find it here. All right, still not coming up. I'm seeing some of it, but I'm only seeing it in, here it is. All right, I finally found it. So here's what Mr. Tracy McGrady said. He said, replace Kobe with me, and he gets to team up with Shaq, who is Shaquille O'Neal. Kobe Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal famously won 3 straight championships in the early 2000s together on the Lakers. Tracy says, I don't win a championship if I'm taking Kobe's spot. You don't think I could carry the Lakers to a championship? I never had the opportunity. All right, that's the first red flag, the fact that he said that. Actually, it's the second red flag. The first one was this hypothetical, like, hey, couldn't I have done this thing that I didn't actually do? That's the first red flag. Then the second thing is I never had the opportunity. That's the second red flag. Then he says, if I was put in that situation to win, I damn sure would show up and do what I do in the playoffs to elevate my team. Again, that's the third red flag. So again, Tracy McGrady is this a retired basketball player talking about what he would have done had he been in a different situation. Then he said, I just never had the chance. Fourth red flag. So now he turns it into a question. I get diminished because I never won a championship. And he's saying that kind of like he's kind of, what's the word? He's kind of saying it in a absurd, like sarcastic type of way. Oh, you're diminishing me because I didn't win a championship. As if somebody is doing something wrong to him by diminishing him for never winning a championship when he's playing sports, when the actual object of playing sports is to win the games. And you win a bunch of games, you win the championship. So he's saying it as if this is some type of unfair ridicule of him. And then that's red flag number 5. Then lastly, he ends his statement with a question. Is that my fault? All right, that's red flag number 6. So 6 red flags in one statement by Mr. Tracy McGrady. Now, why is this a ridiculous thing for Mr. McGrady to say? Because Tracy McGrady wants to be considered as a superstar. He's in the NBA Hall of Fame. Most of the players in the Hall of Fame were at one point noted as superstars. Not all of them, but many of them. Tracy McGrady is a guy who is generally remembered by his fans as a superstar player. He wanted to be considered a superstar while he was playing. There was at one point during his career in the early 2000s when he declared himself the best player in the NBA because he was leading the NBA in scoring. He was a very good scorer, and people wanted to see Tracy McGrady. He had a ton of fans because of his ability to put the ball in the basket. Yet Tracy McGrady was not a successful player in the playoffs, wasn't winning, didn't win playoff series, would make the playoffs often, but always lost in the first round of the playoffs. This is the kind of player that Tracy McGrady was, despite his individual abilities and despite his claim that he might have been the best player in the NBA. So him asking the question of, is it my fault? First of all, this is a feminine frame. It does not say that Tracy McGrady is a feminine person, but this frame is a feminine frame. Feminine frame is you are taking the accountability and responsibility off of yourself and asking a question like, is it my fault that I didn't win a championship? The answer is, motherfucker, yes, it's your fault that you didn't win a championship because you were the star player. You were the best player on the team. And what did I just tell you all? Ownership. This is the first point of today's topic. When you are the star of the team, you're the man or the woman in your organization. If your organization does not achieve the desired goal, yes, it is 100% the fault of the person on top. Now, are you the full reason why it didn't happen? Probably not. Did you do your job? If you're the top person, you probably did. Usually you do your job. That's what got you to be the top person. Could somebody else have something to do with the fact that your team didn't succeed? The answer is probably yes. I would probably say yes without knowing anything else. And with all of that said, is it still your fault as a person on top if your team falters? And the answer is yes, it is. Is this fair? No. Is this balanced? No. Is life fair or balanced? No. When you're the leader, this is what you get. You get all the blame when the team fails, and you get the praise when the team wins. And you can do whatever you want to do with the praise. You can spread it out. But when the team fails, you can't spread that out. So Tracy McGrady's saying, well, I would have did the same thing Kobe did if I was in the same situation that Kobe was in. Well, that's a feminine frame. Why is that a feminine frame? Because, well, number one, you weren't in the same situation Kobe was in. And hence, just as a side note for all you basketball fans, nobody else was either. Kobe was the only person in Kobe's situation. So a lot of people try to say, well, if I was on the same team as Shaq at the same time as Kobe, then I would have won championships too. Well, there were 29 other teams in the NBA who also weren't on the same team as Shaq. And Shaq played 19 seasons in the NBA, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. He won 4 championships. Any of you know math? That means 15 years that Shaq played in the NBA, he did not win the championship. So if playing with Shaq is a guaranteed championship, why was Shaq only 4 out of 19? 19 years, he won 4 championships. 15 times he didn't win. So playing with Shaq is no guarantee of a championship. Now, people talk about it as if, oh, if I was on the same team as Shaq. Well, yeah, that sounds good, but you weren't on the same team as Shaq, number one. Number two, you're playing a sport that's competition. The essence of competition is you have to beat who's in front of you. So how are you going to beat Shaq if your whole mindset is, well, I wish I was on his team so I can win? No. If you're the man or the woman, the leader, you don't say, I wish I had these people on my team so my team could be successful. You say, everybody on my team knows that we're going to be successful because they're on the team with me. That's the mindset of a leader. That's what ownership looks like. Did everybody hear that? Dennis Rodman, famous basketball player, played against Shaquille O'Neal. Their careers overlapped a little bit. Rodman was older than Shaq, but their careers overlapped for a little bit. Actually, they were teammates briefly on the LA Lakers. Want to hear something Dennis Rodman said about Michael Jordan? Michael Jordan's a good example of this ownership mentality. Michael Jordan never said it out of his mouth, but he embodied it very well. More than Tracy McGrady, more than Kobe Bryant, more than Shaquille O'Neal, definitely. The person who came closest to it was Kobe Bryant, but Michael Jordan embodied it completely. Dennis Rodman said, and Dennis Rodman's a guy who won, 5 championships in the NBA? I believe he won 5. He had already won 2 championships before he joined the Chicago Bulls in 1995 into the 96 season where they won 3 more. He already had 2 championships, beating Michael Jordan's team on his way to 2 of those championships. Now, he wasn't the guy on any of those teams, but he was a key member on those 2 teams, those 2 title teams that beat Michael Jordan in the late 80s. Dennis Rodman was on those teams. And Dennis Rodman said, after playing with the Bulls, that you never realize how much pressure is lifted off of your shoulders when you have Michael Jordan on the team. You know that every single night when you play, you have a very good chance to win because Michael's on the team. See, that's the way that your teammates should talk about you when you take the ownership mentality. If you bring it when nobody else brings it and you do it consistently, that's the way your teammates should talk about you. We know we got a chance because we got this guy or this girl. Tracy McGrady doesn't sound like that, does he? Tracy McGrady says, well, I know I would have a chance if I was on that guy's team. Well, okay, so who are you? I mean, you're supposed to be the leader. So the problem for Tracy McGrady, and this has always been a knock on his career from people who know basketball and watched it back in the era in which Tracy McGrady played, was that this guy had the skill sets of a Kobe Bryant. He had the skill set. He could do damn near anything Kobe Bryant could do physically. Tracy McGrady could do it, maybe do it a little bit better, or come pretty damn close. Tracy McGrady physically, Kobe Bryant physically. Tracy McGrady, you might even give him the edge, generally speaking. Many of you who are not basketball fans don't even know who Tracy McGrady is, but all of you have heard of Kobe Bryant, have you not? There's a reason why you heard of Kobe, you haven't heard of Tracy McGrady, even though I just said physically he could do everything Kobe could do. Well, what's the first thing, the basis of what we talk about here at Work on Your Game? Mindset. The basis of what we talk about is not skill set. It is not what are you physically capable of. It's not how tall are you or how fast you can run or how high you can jump. That doesn't really determine where you end up. That doesn't determine maybe what you could do, but it doesn't determine what you actually do. Mindset. Kobe Bryant's mindset was that of a leader. That's the reason why even after no longer being on the same team as Shaquille O'Neal, Kobe Bryant won 2 more championships and made it to the championship round 3 times, won twice. Tracy McGrady never made it to the championship round, couldn't even win 1 playoff series. To win the championship in the NBA, you got to win 4 series in 1 season. Kobe won 4 series twice without Shaquille O'Neal on his team. And once he won 3 series and lost the 4th series. Tracy McGrady never won 1 series without Shaquille O'Neal on his team. And his thing is, well, if I was in Kobe's situation, if I had that opportunity, I could win too. Well, how do you explain what Kobe did without Shaquille O'Neal? Well, you can't. There's no explanation for it. Again, this is why what Tracy McGrady said was a feminine frame. And the second thing is, Tracy McGrady had the skill set of a superstar, but the mindset of a role player. Tracy McGrady didn't have the mindset of a leader. He wasn't a leader. He was a follower with the skill set of a leader. So he was miscast in the wrong position. So in one way, what Tracy McGrady was saying is actually accurate, is that he should have been on a team with Shaquille O'Neal, who could be the leader, so that T-Mac could be in his right role as a follower, because that's who he should have been. He should have been a follower his whole career. He was miscast as a leader because of his skill set. But because of his mindset, his team could go nowhere with him as the leader because he wasn't a leader. See, you put someone who's not a leader in a leadership position, your team's going to be in trouble. Does everyone understand what I'm saying here? Now, again, you look at somebody like Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan had the leader mentality that we are going to win regardless of the circumstances, regardless of who is on the team, regardless of who isn't on the team. We're going to figure this out. Michael Jordan never blamed his teammates. I'm sure there were times Michael Jordan was pissed at his teammates and annoyed with his teammates and wondering what the hell is wrong with my teammates. But Michael Jordan never blamed his teammates. Michael Jordan figured out, okay, how do I get these guys to the level that I need them to be at? Maybe not my level, but the level I need them to be at so that we can win some damn games, because I know I'm going to be judged harshly until I win games, and I can't win games by just doing everything because the NBA is a little bit too competitive for that. So I got to get these other guys to be better. I'm going to be good, but I got to get everybody else to be good too. I got to figure that out. And Michael Jordan went to work on that until he figured it out. And once he figured it out, nobody ever beat him again. Tracy McGrady, different story. Again, all of you have heard of Michael Jordan. All right. How many of you have heard of Tracy McGrady? This is what leadership means, folks. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how to bring it when nobody else wants to bring it. Number 2, find or make a reason. This is one of the biggest challenges once you have created some level of success, is how do you motivate, if you will, yourself to bring it, even when you may not have a loud flashing lights reason to bring it. It's easy to get yourself motivated or activated when you have not yet achieved your desired outcome, and or you have not yet established yourself as the dominant person in your space, because nobody's expecting it of you. Maybe people are counting you out. Maybe you just have that drive to get the win, and you haven't won yet, so you got the drive to try to win. Right? I haven't won yet, so let's go win something. You still have a lot to prove at that point because you haven't yet reached the pinnacle, or you haven't been recognized yet. Now, that's a very good driver, but what do you do after you have all that stuff? What do you do after you reach the pinnacle, after everyone has recognized you, everyone says that you're great, everyone's patting you on the back, everybody wants to be your friend, everybody is cheering for you? How do you move yourself to bring it then? Because now you got everything. Now everybody's telling you how good you are. What motivation do you have to go do anything now? At that point, you got to start coming up with reasons to move yourself to action, because the success is already achieved. The recognition is there. The doubts are no longer there. Nobody doubts you anymore. And you've already achieved success. What gets you out of bed on that day? You already won. Why not just stay asleep? You already won. Now, if you're going to keep bringing it and you're going to remain a leader, you need answers to these questions. You can't stay in bed. And these answers are not always easy to come by. This is the reason why I just emphasized mindset in the first point. Once you start to achieve success, folks, your challenge is much more a mindset challenge than it is a skill set challenge, because your skill set has already been proven. Your mindset is the only thing in question now, is if you can keep doing it. This is the reason why it's so hard for people to maintain success once they achieved it. How do you get yourself going after you already won? Again, I just gave you an example of somebody, Michael Jordan. He won a championship. Everybody already said he was the best player, but he said, I got to win a championship. So he won a championship. Then he came back, he won another championship. Then he came back and won another one. Stepped away from basketball because he didn't feel there was any more competition. Came back, lost in a brief season. Then in a full season, nobody beat him again. He won 3 more in a row. And then walked away again. And if you watch the documentary about Michael Jordan and the Bulls that came out about 5 years ago, Michael Jordan still seems bitter that the team got broken up and he didn't get to keep competing because he wanted to win again. He was going to do it again. He was mad that the team got broken up and he kind of got forced into retirement because he didn't want to have to rebuild with the team. He wanted to keep the team together that was winning. He said, we should be allowed to keep going until somebody beats us. And the Chicago Bulls organization did not agree. So Michael Jordan basically got forced into retirement. Michael Jordan's like 60 years old. I think if I saw Michael Jordan in the grocery store, I've never seen him in a grocery store, but if I did, I think Michael Jordan would probably admit that he's still mad about that. And genuinely mad. I don't mean like laughing about it mad, like genuinely mad that he didn't get a chance to keep kicking people's asses because he wanted to. This guy found a way to keep himself going even after everybody was telling him that he's the best. Anybody don't say Michael Jordan's one of the best players of all time. Even if you don't think he's the best, you think he's up there somewhere. He has everybody telling him how great he is. He got kids who never even saw him play wearing the sneakers, asking their parents to buy the sneakers. They don't even know who Michael Jordan is, but they want Michael Jordan sneakers. And he still found a way to get himself motivated to keep going. Whereas other people who have 10% of his accomplishments can't get motivated after they achieve one little thing. That's why this game is mental, everybody. Point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is how to bring it when nobody else wants to. Number 3, remember something. You are the support system for everybody else. Newsflash, leaders. Newsflash, heads of households. Newsflash, bosses. Newsflash, business owners. Newsflash, team builders. Newsflash, check writers. You are the support system for everyone else. They are not your support system. You are their support system. Now, your support system would be Work on Your Game University, where you have me as your coach. But for the people who work with you and for you, you are their support system. They're looking at you for help when they are unsure. You can't look at them, but they can look at you. This is the burden of leadership. When you're the person on top, everyone else on the team feels safe and protected because they know that you are on the team. What that means, they know that if push comes to shove, you will solve the problems. We did a whole episode talking about solving the problems. That was episode number 1343. You must solve the problems and add value. If you can't solve the problems, then you're not going to be the top person. Episode 767, how to promote yourself by solving problems. They know that for whatever reason, if they are unable to fulfill their duties and responsibilities, they can make a phone call to you and you will pick up where they left off and cover their gaps for them. This is their expectation when you're the person on top. This is the expectation set upon you. When you're the main person, you fulfill this expectation, you get all the extra perks that nobody else gets. So the Chicago Bulls weren't having a great game and Michael Jordan decided to pick up the slack and score 45 points to make sure they won the game that night. He gets all the extra praise and he gets the extra money and people buy his sneakers and he gets the Gatorade commercials, and nobody on the team complained about him getting all these extra perks simply because he had earned those perks with what he did every day on the court, and everybody knew it. So nobody had a problem with it. Kobe Bryant did the exact same thing. Nobody had a problem with it. Why? Because he picked up the slack for everybody else. Everyone else knew all I got to do is just my job. I just got to do my thing. I don't ever have to do anything extra or above and beyond my normal expectation, because if I just do that, I know we got this guy and they'll solve all the other problems that we got. You make the job easy for everybody else. See, when you tell everybody else, all I need you to do is ABC, just do ABC every day, ABC, I'll take care of everything else. You make the job easy for everyone else. That's why in sports, you have the superstars and you have the role players. A role player literally has a role. Here's a role. Do this, this, and this. Don't do anything else. Just do these 3 things. Don't do anything else. Dennis Rodman, just grab rebounds and play good defense. I don't need you to score any points. Just grab rebounds and play defense. I'll take care of the rest. Okay, 3 championships in a row. All right, that's what happens when you're the star. You tell everybody else what their role is, put everybody else in their position, and you handle the rest. LeBron James, what year was this? 2014. He had played for the Miami Heat for 4 years, famously. I'm taking my talents to South Beach. Miami Heat don't play in South Beach, by the way, but it still sounded good, taking his talents to South Beach. And there is a lot of talent in South Beach, not basketball, different story. LeBron comes back to the Cleveland Cavaliers, his original team, and they're in training camp. And early in training camp, LeBron's in practice with the rest of the team, and they're going through things in practice, and LeBron is noticing that something is just not right. So LeBron interrupts practice. Now, LeBron's not the coach, he's the player. He interrupts practice, and he says to the coach, hey, I need to address the team. Can I take everybody back in the locker room? Coach says, okay, go ahead. So LeBron takes the whole team back in the locker room. This is in training camp when he first came back to the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now, mind you, LeBron at this point has been to the NBA Finals 4 straight years. He's won the NBA MVP award, I think, maybe 5. How many times did he win? 4 times, maybe? He had won a bunch of times. He won MVP a bunch of times, won the championship 2 times already. He's been to the NBA Finals 4 years in a row, so he's basically the man in the NBA at this point. He calls the whole team back to the locker room. And what LeBron does, according to the story, is he goes through the entire locker room and points to every single player in the locker room. He tells each one of them what their role is on the team. He just goes around and tell everybody else what their role is. Mind you, he's not the coach, he's the player. Now, here's the part I want you to get. Number one, everybody sat there and listened to what he had to say. Nobody pushed back. You know why? Because LeBron was the fucking man. And when he went around the locker room and told everybody what their role is, everybody listened, and they did exactly what he said because he had clearly established himself as the kingpin player in the NBA at that point. He was the guy. And number two, the reason he was qualified to do that is because they all understood without him saying it, is if each one of you motherfuckers just plays your damn role and do what I just told you to do, I'll take care of everything else and we're going to be good. And you know what happened to the Cleveland Cavaliers the next 4 years? Does anybody know what happened? They went to the NBA Finals 4 years in a row behind LeBron James because they all just did what he told them to do. Now, they only won the championship once because they ran into a buzzsaw of a team called the Golden State Warriors, who were a very stacked team at that time, but they did win 1 championship. So, again, when we talk about what I talked about earlier with Tracy McGrady, I mean, he can't put himself in the category. And yes, he does get diminished. If Tracy McGrady or anybody that knows him is listening to this episode, you can pass this along to him. Yes, you get diminished, Tracy, because you couldn't even win a single playoff series. I'm mentioning guys who won multiple playoff series. Even when they didn't win the championship, they won 3 out of 4 and lost in the championship round. You didn't even get there. And you want to be mentioned in the same breath as these guys? No, that's not the way it works. And you know the rules. Tracy McGrady, you know the rules. Now we want to rewrite the rules because you've been retired for 10 years and now we got this feminine society. So now you want to use feminine rules in a masculine space? No, sir. No, sir. All right, the rules are still the rules and they apply to everybody. And as I'm saying here, finishing up this point, you have the burden of fulfilling this expectation even when you don't like fulfilling the expectation, even when you're annoyed that you had to keep doing other people's jobs. I guarantee you there were times during that 4 years in Cleveland after he went around the locker room and told everybody, here's your role, here's your role, here's your role. I guarantee you there were times LeBron James didn't feel like doing his role and cleaning up the slack for everybody else on the team. I'm sure there were nights that he didn't feel like having to do that, but because he had went around the room and told everybody else what their role was, okay, now they're looking at you, okay, do your role, do everything else. All right, you told me to do that, I did it. Now you do everything else, King James. And for the most part, he did it. That's why LeBron James is LeBron James. Again, even if you're not a sports fan, do you know who LeBron James is? Okay, all right, that's my point. You know who he is. Why you know who he is? You don't know who he is because of commercials. He has commercials because he did what he did on the court, what I just explained to you, which you might not understand if you don't watch basketball, but you understand it because I just explained it to you. That's the reason you see him on TV, because he did that. The reason you didn't see Tracy McGrady, those of you who are not sports fans, is because he didn't do it. This is the bottom line. Again, Tracy McGrady, you listen to this. If I got something wrong, you can let me know. But the rules are the rules. Even when you don't feel like being a hero, you got to be the hero. All of you who are leaders, all of you who are bosses, all you have people who work for you, you have to be the hero even when you don't feel like it. This is the penalty of leadership. And if you are unwilling to pay this penalty, you are unwilling to bear this burden, that's okay. It doesn't make you a bad person. Let me tell you what to do if that's you, okay? But there is something you have to do. Get the hell out of the driver's seat. Get in the passenger seat. Right? Cars have one steering wheel. You are unqualified for the driver's seat if you don't want to take this role. Get out of the steering wheel. Get out of the driver's seat and get off the wheel. This is the deal. These are the terms. These terms are non-negotiable. These rules are not changing. Either you accept them or you don't. I'll leave that to you. But let's recap today's class, which is how to bring it when no one else has it. Again, this concept is drawn, if you can't tell from my background in sports, and that's actually what sparked this idea. Point number one, you got to take ownership. Package deal, power in leadership is ownership, responsibility, and accountability. If things on your team don't go right, it is all your fault. Yes, 100% and always. Point number two, find or make a reason. This is hard to do when your team has already been successful and you've already been successful and you've already been recognized. What's your reason? What's your motivation for going out and doing it? You may not have an answer immediately, but you better come up with one because you got to bring it every day, whether you feel like it or not. Also known as the third day. Number three, remember, you are the support system for everybody else. When they don't feel good, you pick them up. When they're not sure what's going to happen next, you're sure what's going to happen next. There's a book called The Go-Giver by John David Mann and Bob Berg, where the book is an allegorical tale about a business owner. And the owner of the business said that your job as a business owner is to maintain the vision of this company being successful, even when everybody who's working for you is unsure if y'all even going to make payroll next week. That is the mentality that you had to bring. You are the support system for everybody else, even when you don't feel like being a support system, even when no one else feels like anything is going to work. They got to be able to look at you and say, okay, well, we got him on the team, so things are going to work. That's your role. Do you accept these terms or do you not? Because they're non-negotiable. At workonyourgameuniversity.com, you will learn how to install this as a mindset. You will learn how to install this bulletproof mindset framework and make this part of your everyday normal mode of operation. Again, that's at workonyourgameuniversity.com. The link is down in the description of this episode. Work on your game. Dre all